smoke still pouring from underneath the bonnet. Milly sighed. She'd asked too much of him, she knew that. It had seemed like too good an opportunity to pass up, going out in her convertible along the seafront when the weather was so hot, and Clover's Rest was only supposed to be an hour and a half away from where she lived. But Dick was over twice her age, and was only really capable of short, flat journeys, nothing like the mountainous terrain she had just traversed. "It's okay, Dick. You can have a few days to have a little rest, and maybe we can find someone to tinker under your bonnet before we go home. And it's all downhill from here, so worst case scenario, we can just roll you home. Plus, we're on holiday next week. I promise you can stay at home every day. I intend to sit in the garden and do nothing but read for the entire week." Dick let out a sigh of relief, and the smoke slowed and then stopped, revealing the most gorgeous, picturesque village she had ever seen. Milly quickly got out and gazed across the village green, staring at the whitewashed cottages like a kid in a sweet shop. The roofs were topped with yellow thatch that glinted like gold in the sunlight. They were a hodgepodge collection. The nearest ones to her were timber-framed, and the ones on the far side were made from stone. But all of them came with their unique lumps and bumps, jutting out bits of stone or bent bits of timber, indicating that these houses were hundreds of years old. She quickly grabbed her suitcase, gave Dick an affectionate pat, and abandoned him on the edge of the green as she walked, in awe, along the cobbled road. The historian in her picked out key features in the houses straight away. Of course, without certain dating tests, it would be hard to be specific, but the first house on the green had to be at least 400 years old, which meant it should be a listed building. But there had been nothing in any historical documents or files that even indicated this place existed, let alone had listed buildings. Her toes curled with pleasure at the prospect of what this mysterious Clover Castle looked like. Was it possible that she was going to round the corner of the green and see a 16th century undiscovered jewel? She approached the nearest house and ran her hand appreciatively up the oak timber frame. There was something incredible and humbling about touching something that had been around for hundreds of years. What had this building seen and heard? What stories could it tell? She leaned closer to the wood and sniffed it. The rich smells of smoke, wood, and earth engulfed her, and she smiled. She suddenly realized she wasn't alone. Milly looked up from the wood into the bulbous eyes of an old man dressed in a tatty shirt. His skin seemed to have shrunk against his bones, making his eyes seem more bulging and protruding. He was chewing on what looked like a small stone, rolling it around his mouth and back again, as if he was trying to work out what it tasted like. His white hair stuck out, making him look like he was a crazy scientist, but he was looking at her as if she was insane, which she supposed she was, standing on someone's front lawn, stroking and smelling the side of the house. He took a drag of his cigarette and then flicked it into the nearby bushes. She winced at the desecration of such a historical place, but chose to ignore it, as he still had the moral high ground at the moment, being the slightly saner one of the two. "You can't leave your car there," said the man, indicating poor Dick, who looked so deflated and exhausted that even his headlights seemed to be drooping. "It's double yellow lines." Sure enough, double yellow lines covered the roads on both sides, as if it was a main road through a busy city, rather than a tiny remote village with probably no more than 30 houses. But closer inspection showed the lines to be very wobbly and most likely hand-painted. Who would do such a thing? Traffic clearly wasn't a problem up here. There wasn't even another car in sight, and Dick wasn't blocking up the road, which was wide enough for 2 cars to pass easily in both directions. "Well, unfortunately, my car broke down, so it will have to stay there until I can get someone to have a look at it." The man sucked air through his teeth and shook his head. "Igor won't like that. It's likely the car will be towed." Igor? Wasn't that the name of Dracula's assistant? "Sorry, what did you say your name was?" Milly asked deliberately. "Danny." "Danny, I'm sure Igor will understand that a broken-down car is not my fault. I'm a guest of Lord Heartstone."